So welcome to the monthly free webinar that we do. This is also a chapter meeting for the International Association of Counselors and Therapists and the Hypnosis Education Association, which is a Florida not-for-profit based educational group. Very, very brief announcements on that, and then we're going to jump right into tonight's topic, which is the healing power of gratitude. If you're ready, Judy, I'd love for you to start with that little offering that you have for us tonight.
Sure. This was sent to me by a friend of mine, and it's called Peace and Gratitude. I am grateful for every detail in my life. I know that everything I receive from life is a free gift. I understand and accept it. Thank you to the place where I am here and now, because this place needs me and I need it. Thank you to all the organs in my body, which work in full harmony and perfection. Thank you for my perfect health. Thank you to the house where I live, which serves as a refuge and rest. Thank you to the opportunities for progress, employment and projects, achievement, successes, and evolution that open up in front of me daily. Thanks to each payment received, because this way I honor my name, I honor my commitments, and my money multiplies. Thank you to everything I buy, because it is the fruit of my effort, dedication, and merit. Thank you to all the people who cross my path. Thank you to all the people who apparently do me wrong, because they help me form the courage to go forward. And thanks to those who did me good, because that's how they made me feel loved. Thank you to all the opportunities for financial and personal success that I receive, identify, and accept. Thanks to myself that I have found gratitude in all people, things, and deeds. Thank you to the entire universe, which conspires in favor of each one of my thoughts. That is why I choose very carefully what I think, speak, or desire. Thank you to my higher self that exists within me. I am a part of your divinity. That is why I radiate love, light, and peace wherever I am. I fill my heart, my body, my mind, my consciousness, and my whole being with this gratitude.
Beautiful.
Yes.
What a wonderful way to start this.
Yes.
So, yeah, very nice. So, everything now with positive psychology and all these things that are popping up, the science of gratitude. Now they got the science of gratitude, right? There's all kinds of research on these things, how they affect the chemicals and hormones in our body and how they affect our attitudes and our emotions and everything. So I like to offer handouts. If anybody wants the handouts, just email me after this at hypnosis@yahoo.com. And I will send that. I think I have a copy of that little offering that I'll make sure I have that in from you. So I'll include that in the handout. So I'm just going to review just quickly a couple of things by screen share. And with your permission, I'd like to take you all through a gratitude piece. Loosely, I know I won't follow it exactly because I can't help myself, but I wrote a script on gratitude a few years ago that I use in my hypnosis training that is a beautiful little piece, I think, that will be apropos if you all would like to go through a little hypnotic process, because why not? We're so good at that, But first, let me show you a couple of things here. I'm just going to point out some things on here, and then, like I said, I will send you these handouts if you would like them. Here's a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Cultivate the habit. Can you all see that, by the way?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Cultivate the habit of being grateful for every good thing that comes to you, and to give thanks continuously. And because all things have contributed to your advancement, you should include all things in your gratitude, right? I always tell people, if you think about the times when you grew the most or learned the most in your life, they're probably not the times when everything was just hunky-dory, right? When everything went exactly as planned. It's usually those other times. And again, this goes through, I'll just, a couple little highlights here. From a scientific perspective, they're talking about here, because now they've made a science out of this. Gratitude is a positive emotion that serves a biological purpose. Okay, talking about scientists can measure its effects. Harvard Medical School even has to get involved, of course. Here we go. A thankful appreciation for what an individual receives, whether tangible or intangible. With gratitude, people acknowledge the goodness in their lives. As a result, gratitude also helps people connect to something larger than themselves as individuals, whether to other people, nature, or a higher power. So it goes beyond just saying thank you for someone doing something for you or giving you a gift, obviously. Emmons did a lot of work in the field of gratitude, so you're going to see a lot of his name in these. Talks about, well, I'm not going to read all this to you, but just little highlights here. The word is derived from the Latin word gratia. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, which means grace, graciousness, or gratefulness, depending on the context, of course. And it says, in some ways, gratitude encompasses all of these meanings. So gratitude also helps people connect to something larger than themselves as individuals. So it gets you out of your own self. It gets you into that selfless place to realize, that everything around us also is part of our experience in our life, whether other people, nature, again, or higher power. People feel and express gratitude in multiples of ways they're talking about. You can apply it to the past, being grateful for things that have already happened. The present, of course, what you acknowledge now to be grateful for. And also the future. And this is where, as hypnotherapists, I think we can really help our clients to start to create that future that we're wanting to help them to be able to create, of course, by accessing their own resources and attitudes and belief systems and all of these things for what they're wanting to create with us, and be grateful for something that hasn't even happened yet. It's an interesting concept. Thank you for allowing me to be the person that can become this or that can attain this accomplishment. It's very powerful. And they're saying it helps people to refocus on what they have instead of what they lack. So that idea of being a victor, someone who is proactive and has power over what they make out of their circumstances, and in a sense of self-control and all of that, as opposed to being a victim. And isn't that what we help people do? Help them be empowered is the word we use a lot in this field, right? There's some more stuff here. Gratitude. Let's see here. 2 stages of gratitude it talks about. I'll let you read that on your own if you care. There was something else, I think, here. They talk about religious perspectives, philosophical perspectives, psychological perspectives. Emmons did a lot of research, and he came up with an overview of 9 recent psychological findings that they related to these studies they did on gratitude. Enhanced well-being, that's not a surprise. Deeper relationships. Improved optimism, that's pretty obvious. Increased happiness. Optimistic people tend to be happier. Stronger self-control. Better physical and mental health. It says patients, here's a 2015 study showed that patients with heart failure who completed gratitude journals showed reduced inflammation, improved sleep, and better moods. This reduced their symptoms of heart failure after only 8 weeks.
Oh.
Pretty cool. An overall better life. Of course, if you have all of that, there's that. And the 8th one, stronger athleticism. So physically, definitely, emotionally, on every level. Oh, I forgot there were 9. Stronger neurologically based morality. Now that one might sound surprising, and it did when I read it. Neuroscience is beginning to explore what gratitude does to the mysterious human brain. And they talk about gratitude, increased activity in areas of the brain that deal with morality, reward, and judgment. And that's by MRIs. This is interesting stuff to me. The different effects of gratitude. This one study showed 23% reduction in the stress hormone cortisol after the intervention process, which was some of these things that we'll talk about in a minute. During the use of the techniques, 80% of the participants exhibited an increased coherence in heart rate variability patterns. I think of what we do with clients as covering all this, right? Because we're kind of we're taking them on journeys where they're able to imagine, which is the most powerful thing, as we know, to imagine things the way they want them to be. And when you imagine something, the chemicals in your body and your brain, we know now, they start to create and resonate with that imagination, what they're imagining, and that the emotions and all of that goes along with it. Okay, I'm not going to read all this, but just a few little highlights there. So a bunch of stuff here. I don't think there was any more on that one. Interesting stuff, huh? So it's nice when they can prove things with science. And when I do my classes, I like to bring the science. There's certain students and certain clients that helps them, that they need that more than some other people. I never needed it. I'm one of those people who was using hypnosis before I knew it was hypnosis. And a lot of people I meet in this field kind of were doing things, and then like me just went, how did I do that? How did I even know that I could do that? What made me even try to do that? And then it led me to hypnosis and NLP. Those were the two things to me that encapsulated what it is that makes for transformation with our clients and with ourselves. So I didn't need the science, but you know what? It's nice to know that it is scientifically now that we got the great imaging machines for the brain and the body, that we can actually show people and show doctors. By being part of that medical team, they want to know the stats, they want to know the data, the studies and the research and all of that. Yeah, Kevin.
There's a quote that I always use with my students and my clients, and I'm surprised you didn't have it. It says, the more you're grateful, the more you'll have to be grateful for. There
you go. And that's even got one of our basic language patterns, the more, right?
Yeah.
It's powerful. And that statement right there, think about that could just be part of a hypnotic process. Exactly. Especially if you get a sense that this person has been focused on all the negatives and you're wanting them to start focusing on being grateful for the things that they already have and the resources they can access and all of that. And that could be part of the hypnotic process right there. Emmons again did a lot of this research, University of California. The new science of gratitude can make you happier. That's his thanks, how the new science of gratitude can make you happy. That's his book, his best-selling book, it says. So that's why he's doing all this research. He's got a nice book out there now, right? Emmons' research indicates that gratitude is not merely a positive emotion. It also improves your health if cultivated. People must give up a victim, here's what I was just saying, victim mentality and overcome a sense of entitlement and deservedness. As a result, he says they will experience significant improvements in several areas of life, including relationships, academics, energy level, and even dealing with tragedy and crisis. So this is a nice little thing talking about, and again, the source of that is all there. I do want to show you one more quickly here. That's, again, just the highlights here. Without gratitude, there is suffering. That's a Buddhist, evidently a quote from the Buddhist tradition. It says, without gratitude, there's suffering. Did you know that there is a relatively large branch of psychology called positive psychology? Again, when I first started hearing about that a few years ago, this new science of positive psychology, and I started doing research on it because I love to research all this stuff. And as I'm reading through all of the things, I go, it kind of reminded me of Norman Vincent Peale, back in the 70s, 60s, and so, and I thought this isn't new, but it's nice that people rediscover and repackage and make it available for more people. So there you go. Let's see. Lowering stress levels, improve quality of lives. And it's talking about, here are some things you can incorporate, or we can get our clients to incorporate. And I do some of these things with certain clients that I feel like it'll be helpful for. To write in a gratitude journal or a notebook every day. Now, if my clients don't want to write things, I usually ask them, are you someone that likes to write? Are you into writing things down? It's very powerful to write it down. But if they say they're not, then, I tell them, before you go to sleep at night or as you're drifting off to sleep, review your day and just kind of linger on some things that you can really be grateful for. Bring back the things that went right, the things that are in the direction of what you're coming to me to help you with. Focus on the things, even if it's just a little tiny improvement in some area that you're looking for help with, then give yourself thanks, give the universe thanks, give God thanks, whatever your belief system is, right? The person can get that benefit of having that gratitude. But writing it down, studies have shown, I know from decades I've been reading, that writing things down has another level of empowerment and impact on the central nervous system and the brain and everything. Say thank you with prayers about when you're walking, before you're sleeping, like I was talking about, in the shower, in the bath, anytime you got a minute just to let your mind wander. So being thankful with prayers, if they don't call it prayers, they can just have thoughts of thanks, of gratitude. At the dinner table with family, with partners, roommates, friends, blah, blah, blah. Share a moment, not just at Thanksgiving dinner, right? Create a ritual with your spouse or your significant other that just before falling asleep, you share with each other what you found beautiful that day. I think that's a nice one. That's very nice. And then it says, make up a practice of your own, because isn't that what we do as hypnotherapists? It kind of creates itself on the spot based on what our client just shared with us about their life. And then we come up with, I wonder if you'd be interested in something that you can do between sessions here to help you really, adopt this mindset that's going to help you with your goal. And that can be a part of that. So I think those are nice little pieces. If you'd like those, again, email me. Any comments on that before we move on? I learn from all of you too. This is a very selfish endeavor. I do these things so I can learn.
All right, I do have.
Yeah, Kevin.
I have a practice that I use personally. I don't know if any of you have used or know about Ho'oponopono.
That sounds familiar.
At least the version that Joe Vitale made popular. It's not.
Yeah.
The wonderful, but there's a 4-phrase prayer, and it's a prayer to God or whatever your belief system is, and it's I'm sorry, please forgive me, and I'm sorry, it's a release. I'm sorry and please forgive me is a release for whatever you're feeling or thinking that you want to get rid of. But the last two are love and gratitude. It's thank you and I love you. And by the way, when I teach it to my students, the thank you can be a proactive in the future. Thank you for helping me release it.
Yeah.
But I also use it as a in the moment gratitude. If something happens and it's like, oh my goodness, I'll say thank you and I love you. Thank you for keeping me safe. I do it all day long. And so I practice the gratitude and the love with just those two statements. And it's really a wonderful feeling.
That's beautiful. I'd like to see, is there like the statements? It sounds familiar, but is that something you could send me? And
I think I have plenty of
the way that you present it,
written up around it. Yeah, I've taught it for many years. And then I started teaching it as a law of attraction, running a group. And that if that's something you do separately, law of attraction, I'd love to speak to you about it. Because in my group doing this process, the way we did it, there were miracles every week.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'm not surprised. Yeah. So in one of the handouts, somewhere in there, it talks about gratitude being cathartic. That it actually it can be a extreme emotional release. That's why they say it's great for trauma and crisis. It can literally cause a catharsis to happen for a person that releases, right? And next month we're going to be talking about respect and release the past, and maybe it'll come up with this.
Made me think. I think all of you probably do some sort of parts therapy of some sort, right?
Yeah.
I learned a long time ago, because I do several of them, that when you start off and you realize that the part of you that's doing whatever it's doing, even though you hate it, it's doing it for a positive intention. So I always have them start off with saying thank you to the part. I explain it so they can, because no one walks in the office and says, are you kidding me? You want me to say thank you for this thing that's almost killing me? So that's the cathartic part, when they can actually do that sincerely. That part almost actually resolves itself just by the gratitude. It's incredible.
Nice, nice. Absolutely. Parts, definitely one of my favorite. We did one of the deep dives on parts therapy, I think already, because that might have been the first one because I love parts work. Yeah, and it's all different. It's never the same with each client or the same client, even if you do it more than once, right? It's always different. Wes, do you want to add something?
What you, Kevin, brought about Ho'oponopono, for me, this is a reminder that gratitude may be so popular because it is kind of spiritual ritual which we as a society are missing. And Ho'oponopono emerged from Hawaiian spiritual tradition, which has thousands of years. And the danger of that is, like with every tradition, ritual which started with ancient spiritual tradition, that the current psychology trying to justify it or understand it or whatever. And I believe that it is not to be understood, this is to be experienced. And the same applies to, like Patti, you are excited by measuring brain and everything else. But and this is good. And also it's good to realize that the domain of the mind which we work is non-local. It means that it is something which can be used to understand, but it doesn't exist in terms of any measurement approaches. And then there is a science thing, and I've done science for 25 years, that the thing is that it works in life, so now let's prove that it works in Petri dish.
Right.
Which, this validates, and I think also the trap of hypnotherapy is that we tend to switch so-called bad hypnosis into good hypnosis, but both are judgments. And what is missing, that if we create the new trance from the place of being in the bad trance, we create a new version of the trance. And the idea is to create trance from the place of no trance. So if I apply this to parts therapy, the biggest joke, good joke, kind of tasteful joke of doing parts therapy is to realize that I, working with my parts, I am another parts. And I understood this by doing improvisation, that we are just a bunch of characters playing with other characters. And then the gratitude for me, in this stage of life and professional life, my passion is to simplify. And gratitude is one of the, like childhood trauma, is one of the things that is becoming industry now. It's a very profitable industry to teach gratitude and whatever. But for me, gratitude is kind of saying yes. Saying yes to what is just because it is. Not because it's good or bad, it's just because it is. Which you guys already mentioned that it makes tremendous therapeutic effect because it dissolves the default no to life. That that we may sweeten that what we do in life, but plenty of time in life, in my life, I spent in the default no, because default no is part of the learned survival. And then when we get sick, then we have to modify the default no, because default no to the danger is also default no to life and default no to healing itself. So gratitude comes to me as the way of saying, of owning what is without any interpretation. For me, it's enough to be grateful.
Very nice. Interesting. Yeah, the thing about science and all of they're not really, they don't explain anything. They're just showing the effect of what gratitude has on, all of these areas, right? The brain, the body, the relationships, or whatever it is. That's they're measuring the effect of it, but they can't tell you how it happens. There was a neurologist in one of my trainings many years ago. I still remember, because we were talking about brain waves, that part of the training, and how the brain waves and all that, different levels of trance. And he started talking, and he said, I'll tell you a secret about us neurologists. We can tell you what happens. We can show you some things that we can observe. But he says, we don't have a clue how this all works, how it happens, how this works. And I think that's the magic of what we do, is that like you were saying, Wes, people have the experience. By having the experience, words can never, ever fully do justice to the experience. So we can talk about it, we can read about it, we can write about it and all that, research it, but it's about the experience. And that's what I think as hypnotherapists, that's where that magic happens, is we make that connection. And the people that come to us have hopefully a very passionate desire for something. And I feel like when somebody has a passionate desire for something that they're seeking, when they come to us, that to me tells, for me at least, I assume, I know that means there's a part of them, so to speak, that knows they're capable of achieving it. That's where that, I think, comes from. It's not, you can tell the difference between wishful thinking or a very passionate desire for an outcome. And it doesn't always mean, we're not going to guarantee, or there's no guarantee that they will actually achieve it. But in the moving toward it and being passionate about doing something, changing something, achieving something, that right there is fulfilling, I believe. Just the journey is, and like you were saying, the now. What am I doing right now? How can I be right now that allows me to be optimistic, that allows me to be grateful, to have more happiness and a better understanding of myself and the world around me and whatever else is going on. So, yeah.
It was, beautiful reminder from that neurologist, because neurology is a very unique specialty for knowing plenty, but not being able to do plenty. That is known about urology. And also the science, the science is motivated by gaining control. Rather than...
How do you mean that?
Well, we want to understand the nature in order to control the nature. And we control the nature either because it's a commercial benefit and or we are scared of nature, because the nature is completely unpredictable, as we can experience over and over again. So we try to control upfront so we can feel safer. But safer, this is maybe where gratitude plays big role, because, as they say, the healing can only happen in safe environment. And I believe that our beauty in our work, that we can, I wouldn't say provide safety, but witness safety, which then, what you are saying, brings memory in our clients of the inner capacity of not only doing what is good, but knowing what is good for them. And we don't need to know it.
Right. Because again, words are inadequate in that environment. And that's why your first talk on Saturday morning, I'm so excited about, because it is about connecting and us having the trust and the respect and, you know, the space that we create, it feels safe to them because we're respecting and that non-judgmentalism. It's like, I don't prejudge. I don't think about what, you know, where are we going to go after they get here? Or even, you know, I tend to like to clear everything and just be like in that moment with the client right now, tell me, you know, what is it that you're here for? What is it you want? And kind of let it evolve out of as Erickson would say, the trance they come in with, you know, that's obviously creating something that isn't acceptable to them or that they'd like to change. And we help them to access who can you be that now has this other experience that you're going for, that you're saying you want to have. What are the resources and the attitudes and the belief systems and all of that support this person? Because whatever the goal is a reflection. I always think, you know, I talk in my class about when somebody says the goal they want, it's not about that thing or that state or that achievement. It's about how they imagine they will feel when they have that, or when they do that, or when they get that, or when they achieve that. It's about a state. And that's why I always say we're state shifters. We help our client to learn how to shift their state to be the person that can create now this reality. And now that I have this state, I can heal more quickly. I can play better pickleball. Pickleball person recently, you know, whatever it is, if it's something emotionally charged for that person, it's really about how they imagine it'll feel to do that, or to be that, or to have that. So it's about state shifting and again, having that respect that I know it's in there, or they wouldn't have the ability to desire it and to go to all the trouble to seek help to get it, because they haven't been able to seem to access it on their own. And then we, like you said, Wes, we witness. I love that word. I've been hearing you say that recently. We get to witness them making the change by us creating that space, by us accepting them and trusting and respecting their goal, and that they're the person that they have within them, what it's going to take to achieve it. And again, there's no guarantee. If somebody comes to be healed from a disease, that doesn't mean, you know, I don't think that, you know, that we necessarily have to believe 100% that they can be healed or cured. It's more about how their quality of moment by moment life can be with the current challenge, whatever it is, and feel empowered and feel grateful that I'm here and I have some resources that I can activate to help myself to have a better quality moment by moment of life. So anyway, any other comments? You always make me think, Wes. I love that about you. Anybody else? We kind of ended up talking the whole hour, which works for me. I love it.
Oh,
Judy, anything you'd like to jump in with, or Kevin?
No, I'm glad I'm here. This was wonderful.
I'm really happy you're here. I do have this script that I wrote many years ago. It's I think it's just Attitude of Gratitude. Not a new idea. It's even one of the articles. I mean, it's such an obvious title for a script, right? And again, scripts. I like script writing. I think is a creative endeavor. You know, when I write scripts in my old, you may not know Kevin, but in my old, I've been doing this going on 32 years now. February will be 32 years in this field. Before that, for 20 years, I was in show business. I was just a singer, actress, songwriter, dancer too. Songwriter. You got to do it all back in those days. And the songwriting, to me, script writing for hypnosis is the same thing. Go into a state, turn on the creative juices, open the channel, and let it fall out on the page. That's, to me, those are the best songs and the best scripts, the ones you don't think about. They just show up and they just create. And this script is one of those to me that I wrote that way. And they usually write themselves, and then I just tweak it here and there, maybe a little, to make it a little more hypnotic. But if you'd like to have the handouts and that script that I wrote years ago, And it's also in the IMDHA, the first script writing contest they held, I forget how many years ago that was, at least 12, 15, whatever it was. IMDHA put out a script book of all the scripts that people submitted for the contest. So I'm very happy you were here. It's just about almost 8:30. So any other comments? Next month, like I said, respect and release the past. And according to some of that research in one of those papers that I showed you, or if not more than one of them, one way to release the past they're finding is through gratitude work, getting people to do gratitude journals. And I just think it's a beautiful place, being grateful for just being here, just for this moment. I'm breathing. If I asked you to write a list of all the things you're grateful for, probably the first thing on the list wouldn't be I have air conditioning. I put gas in my car today. I was able to put gas in my car. It wouldn't be those kind. It'd probably be people that you love, your animals, maybe your environment. I always think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I was reading a lot of philosophy and psychology books back when I was in show business. That's when I started this journey. And I always remembered the hierarchy of needs, and most of us, like I said, if we wrote down what we're grateful for, all those basic needs are pretty much met most of the time, hopefully, for all of us here. And then you go to the next, once those things are met, of course, then you go to the next thing on the hierarchy and the next. And of course, at the peak is where I'm always headed. And even get to tap into that in hypnosis, don't we? I think of that peak as being what we are able to attain through the hypnotic state, because we're already there. We just don't always realize it. Mm. That's just kind of the way I think of it. So that hierarchy. So if you think of what you're grateful for before, as you're drifting off to sleep tonight, like I said, some of the people that come to us, as they come in, and if you ask them, what are you grateful for? Some people I know that I've seen would say, there's nothing that's going right in my life. I have nothing to be grateful for. And that's a very, very sad place to be. It's a very, very dark place. So if people can start to just appreciate those little simple things, I'm breathing, there's a lot of hurt and a lot of illness. And the older we get, just had a birthday about 3 weeks ago, the older we get, the more we're going to see other people suffer and loved ones and friends and relatives die off. It's just by nature of living a long, fruitful, and hopefully enjoyable life. I always think of, I'm still here. There's something I'm supposed to be doing. There's a reason. And, part of that reason may be to appreciate life that some people I love can no longer do in human form, because they aren't here anymore to enjoy this wonderful adventure, as Michael Watson would call it, this amazing adventure. I think he got that from Helen Keller, actually, but you get the point, right? We can appreciate these things. So thank you all for coming. Little small group tonight. I love it. Love all of you. And email me up hypnosis@yahoo.com, and I'll be happy to send you the handouts. And Judy, I'll look and make sure I've got that little thing that you read at the beginning. It's so beautiful.
Yes. Good.
Thank you all. Stay in touch. And I will see Rocky, Wes. I have a raccoon that I named Rocky, so I got Rocky. I got raccoons in the backyard, and they all have names. And Rocky's, he's got a pink nose and pink feet. He's really cute. He's different. He's unique. He's very unique. Yeah, he's adorable. So love you all. Take care, and I'll see you hopefully next month, and maybe I'll see some of you this weekend. I know I'll see Wes this weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.